Calories, macros, where do we start? Stick around, I'll tell you. So for anyone who's new to counting calories and macros and all that jazz, it could be a lot. It's a lot of math in the end. If you don't like math, I'm sorry. Use Excel like I do. I mean, I like math, I enjoy math. I still use Excel, the spreadsheet, to do most of the math for me. So if you're curious on how to start counting and how to set your numbers up, you won't have to wait any longer because we're just gonna jump right into the video. So we're fast. We're moving. We got stuff to do today, all right? All right, so where should you be starting? If you have no idea how many calories you are eating or how many calories you should be eating, I would highly recommend getting a tracking app. I use MyFitnessPal, and as you can see, it's really easy. All you have to do is scan the barcode if it's something that you've purchased from a store, and it plugs in all the numbers for you. And if not, if you're going out to a restaurant, it does have a lot of restaurant menu items on there. Just type in the name of the restaurant and the food that you're going to be eating, and hopefully it pops up. If not, and you can't find that restaurant's specific calorie breakdown for its meals, what I do is just Google like the generic dish. Like I just had Thai food last night. It was pad wonsen, I think. I couldn't find the calories on their website, so I just typed just general how many calories is in that dish, and it came up with like, it was like, I think in total plus the meat that I used, it was like 700 calories. So I'm like, all right, 700 calories is a good number to work with instead of just randomly guessing or not including it. And when you track, be as obnoxiously specific as you can be. You know, if it was like you had a spoonful of peanut butter, track that spoonful of peanut butter. If you only had like 3/4 of a chocolate chip, track that 3/4 of a chocolate chip. You know, if you only licked an ice cream cone once, track it. Because if you aren't tracking that, you may be under the impression you're eating 2,000 calories from what you tracked. And in actuality, if you did include all of those little things throughout the day, you might actually be eating like 2,300, 2,400. And you're eating more than you think you are. So when you're trying to either lose, gain, maintain, and you're wondering like, why isn't this working? Like, I'm eating right, like my calories are right, it's because you're not tracking everything, and those things that you aren't tracking do add up. So when I say be obnoxious about it. You know, you just add a little sprinkle of salt, you better be adding that sprinkle of salt, all right? So now that you know how many calories you are eating throughout the day, now you need to figure out whether that's a deficit, if it's a maintenance level, or if it's a surplus for you. What do those words even mean? A calorie deficit is when you are eating less than your body is burning. Your calorie maintenance level means you are consuming the exact amount or close enough to the amount that you are burning, which means you're not going to lose, you're not going to gain. You are going to stay the same. And a caloric surplus is when you are eating more than you are burning, and you're going to end up gaining weight. Just to give you like a better idea, give you a visual of that, we're gonna use this water bottle right here. So let's say this water bottle can fit, if you fill it to the top of water, it's 2,000 calories. So you drink all that water and then you fill it back up. 2,000 calories. This bottle, you don't need it to be bigger, you don't need it to be smaller to fit that amount of water. So you are filling it exactly to where it needs to be to stay the same. Now let's say you start adding more water, and more water is like adding more calories. If you start adding more water to this water bottle is going to have to get bigger to fit that extra amount of water you're adding to it. And that's what's going to be your calorie surplus. But if I only fill it up to here, that's not full. So this bottle is going to need to shrink to now perfectly fit the amount I'm fueling it. And that's going to be your calorie deficit. So I would start out by figuring out what your caloric maintenance is. And to do that, there are a lot of calculators. You can find calorie maintenance calculators, your TDEE calculators, which is just your total daily energy expenditure. So you can easily Google, find a calendar for me, not a calendar, find a calculator for me. Google it. It's going to ask for your height, your weight, your gender, your activity level. It might ask you a couple other things if you know your body fat percentage. Plug all that information in. It'll give you a pretty rough estimate of where your calorie maintenance should be. And because you've already tracked what you ate throughout the day, you should know, are you under that maintenance, are you at that maintenance, or are you above that maintenance? And then from there, you're just deciding what you want to do. What's your goal? Is your goal to gain weight? Is it to lose weight? Is it to just be normal and not do either one of those things? And then fix your calories to align with that goal. And for some people, you can stop there. If you aren't too concerned about like getting really specific, you can stop right at the calories. You know, if you want to trying to lose a little weight, you're trying to gain a little weight, you're just trying to maintain your weight, you know, you can just probably mess around with your calories and you're good. But for those that want to go a little further or may have peaked and may not be seeing any more progress, it may be time to start messing around with your macros. What are your macros? There are 3 macros. There's protein, fats, and carbs. And your macro split is the percentage of your calories that you're getting from each of those 3 groups. How much you should be getting from those groups completely depends on what you're looking for. So for my cut, the split that I ended up doing, or that I was at least working with, was 40% carbs, 35% protein, and 25% fat. When I actually tracked the foods and brands I was actually using, it kind of came out to be more 38% carbs and protein and 24% fat, which I'm fine with. I hit the macros I was looking to hit. I still was like really close to hitting, and being off by a little bit isn't going to make that much of a difference. So I was okay not having the exact numbers I wanted, but still being in a really good range that I felt good being all right with it. So you have your calories, you have your macro split. How do you get the numbers now to fill in those gaps? We're gonna start with carbs. For your carbs and protein, for every gram that you eat, it's 4 calories. And for every gram of fat that you eat, it's gonna be 9 calories. And now comes the math. If you don't like math, I got news for you. This is nothing but math. So to start out, we're gonna take my cut as my example. So I am eating 1,425 calories with 40% of that coming from carbs. So what do? I'm going to take 1,425 and divide that by 0.4. So that gives me 570. That means 570 calories are going to come from carbs. How am I going to get that into grams? Like I said, every gram of carb is going to equal 4 calories. So I'm going to take that number and divide it by 4, which gives me 142.5. So I will be eating 142.5 grams of carbs every day. Or I'm actually eating about 130 grams of carbs in actuality once I've plugged in the actual brands that I'm using in comparison to the ones I use to kind of prepare my meals for the week. And yeah, it's about 12 under. It's a pretty big gap. That's why I did lower it to a 38-38 split, because my protein's about right there too. So that's why I did lower it to a 38-38 split. But that's just how I decided. I was playing around with things and I was like, you know what, it's still high enough where I'm going to be getting good energy and I don't feel like plugging in any more numbers. And when I say plugging in numbers, I've been using an Excel spreadsheet to plan all of my meals. Look at this. Look at all of this. This takes forever. I have, when I'm on my maintenance, when I'm on my prep, when I'm on my cut, when I'm on my reverse diets, I have it all planned out. And I have to do these equations every time I want to change my calories or want to change my split, which happens every now and again. And that isn't really the hard part. The hard part is filling in the blanks. What foods are going to fit these parameters? That's the most annoying part. And when it gets to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty close, I'm pretty close. I'm good enough. That's the part that's a little frustrating for me, just having to plug in what foods are gonna work, because I'm not the kind of person that likes fruits and veggies and just wants to eat all these fruits and veggies. No, so I'm trying to find foods that I like but are also going to fit my macros and my calories, which I've done. It gets annoying sometimes when like you're just a little too far over and you're like, ah! There's no reason you need to be like how I gave myself that 40% carbs. I don't need to be at 40%. That was just a general parameter. I plugged in all my foods. So I'm really good with this meal plan for the day. What do I need? What's the new macro split if I stick with this? And I saw it was carbs were lowered by 2%. It went from 40 to 38%. I'm like, that's 2%. That's fine. That I'm not gonna go crying home to mom about that. And the protein went up a little more. It's a little more protein, little more goodies for my muscles. I'm not mad at that. So it's a lot of playing around, plugging in numbers, a little math. I would highly recommend using an Excel spreadsheet because it does all the math for you, except for the calculating the macro split numbers. I guess it could do that too, so. But anyways, moving on. So for protein, we're gonna still stick with the numbers I was using, not the numbers I'm currently using. So I originally was using 35% for my protein. And for that, you would do the same thing. You would take 1,425, which is my calories, and and you would multiply that by 0.35, which is gonna make 498, I'm gonna round up, it's actually 499 calories will be coming from protein. And just like carbs, for every gram of protein, you're gonna get 4 calories. So we're gonna divide that number by 4 to get how many grams of protein I wanted to be eating, which comes out to, I'm rounding up again, which comes out to 125 grams of protein. I'm actually eating 131 grams. So it's about 6 grams more than I planned initially, which bumped me up to 38% coming from my protein, which again, wasn't a dramatic distance from my original number for me to try and redo my food all over again. So, and finally for my fat, it's making up the remaining 25% because we're going with 100% in total with these 3 numbers. So again, 1,425 calories times 0.25, which gives me 356 calories coming from fat. Now with fat, for every gram you eat, you're gonna get 9 calories. So we're gonna divide that number by 9, which gives me, rounding up, 40 grams coming from fat. How much am I actually eating? I'm eating 37 grams of fat. So I'm eating a little less than what I initially planned, which dropped me to about 24% coming from fat. So you can see that like I had this initial plan of 40, 35, 25, and in actuality it ended up being 38, 38, 24, which is fine. So I do hope that that was a little helpful, and the whole idea of calories and macros and tracking and all that is going to be a little easier for you guys to do. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please, 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 please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Bye!